Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I am not Chris Cayos. Mr. Cayos has a conflict with Forest Preserve matter this morning and asked that I conduct the meeting in his absence, which I am now calling to order at 10:22 and ask please that the clerk call the roll.
Martin. Berman.
Berman here.
Davis.
Davis here.
Ford.
Ford present.
Braz.
Buzz here.
Gums.
Gums here.
Pirog. Jepro. And Caius is absent.
Well, actually, Caius is listening, if that's okay.
Sorry about that. Gotcha.
Mr. Martin is well versed.
There's an assumption buried away there that has some entertainment value. We have before us the minutes, draft minutes of February 9th. May I have a motion for approval?
Braz moves.
Berman
Gums
Ford
seconds.
second.
second.
Do we have comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Davis.
Davis, yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes.
Braz.
Braz, yes.
Gums.
Gums, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Minutes are approved. The finance report is available to us. If there are questions, please direct them toward the finance department. I am not aware of any public comment. Do I have any being volunteered online? There being none, I'm going to, actually, I'm not going to amend the agenda. I don't know. Well, this would probably be under old business. So we're going to do that first. Ms. Wolnick is present today to give us a report on the
Water management.
water management program out at the Judicial Center and has a conflict that will
Related to the water management
Yeah,
plan.
related to the water management program. So she'd like to make a report at this point in the proceeding.
Thank you. At the request of the state's attorney's office, we're officially notifying this committee that the water management plan document has been sent to the Illinois Department of Public Health. This is the official final version of the document. It is, however, a living document. And so as we have our quarterly meetings with the water management team, there will be frequent updates. So it will not actually go through the board for approval because as we are making changes and improving the program, we'll make those changes within the document. The water management plan team had met several weeks ago to go through the detail of the plan. And we're actually meeting this morning at 11:30 to do a walkthrough with Phygenics, who is our water testing firm, to begin the program with the building management team, as well as the judicial center team and the juvenile justice team. So I can answer any questions, but we will also be updating the Judicial and Public Safety Committee tomorrow at their meeting.
Excuse me, are there questions of Ms. Wolnick? Very none. Thank you. Please get out and straighten out our water system. Excuse me, as long as we began old business, is there any other old business that people want to bring forward today? Or forever hold your peace? Okay, that satisfies agenda item 11. Facilities management, we have first ongoing projects to have presented.
So as of yesterday, we have a few changes. So currently, all projects in preliminary planning stages are currently under review for prioritization, since we now have a new person in charge. Budgeted capital projects are being prioritized in preparation for bidding. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Thanks.
A
Are
little
there
bit of
any,
flux.
No, I think right now we're going to be doing a lot of review and
I
assessment.
can't hear you.
I don't know if this is on. Yeah, it's on. Okay. I think right now what we're focused on is the initial review and assessment. We're getting the financial fund accounting set up so that we have access to run reports and to review the financials. We're 90 days into the fiscal year. So first quarter of our financial year is done. So we're looking at the current 90 days that have passed, where they're at financially, and then obviously the forecast for the remainder of the year, just to get an idea where they're at with that. And then we'll be looking at the projects that are proposed, that are open, and the status on those. I think the other part is looking at the operational, part of the facilities and getting a handle on what has been happening or what's been occurring. And then lastly, there's some large master planning projects that are underway. One was the facility master plan, and another was the condition assessment and the space utilization planning. We're going to be meeting more with White and Company, who's doing those plans, trying to get a better understanding of the statement of work and the schedule. We want to bring it back to have that for the committee next month. I want them to come in and share where they're at in the process, what the schedule is, when they would be done with those particular plans.
Thank you. Sounds like the best is yet to come.
Yeah. Trying to
Sounds
get
a little bit like he's
schedules.
jumped in the deep end and would just like a chance to come back up to the surface before he tells us a whole bunch more.
Well, let's keep it moving forward. Item B, we have a resolution authorizing a contract for Kane County asbestos, lead, and mold consultant services.
Raz moves.
Berman second.
Presentation, please.
Okay, the resolution authorizes the contract with Midwest Environmental for asbestos, lead, and mold testing and remediation. Kane County will use the services for renovation and demolition projects. Midwest was selected through the RFP process.
Question.
Mr. Fries.
Yeah, Mark, I'm just curious looking through this, and I could have missed it, but I'm just not seeing like a budget or a rate or an hourly rate, or how will they be billing us? Like it's approving a contract, but and it says it was budgeted, but I'm just not seeing either a total number or whatever.
We're working through with Chris's resolution here. Typically, when we've used Midwest for years, their bill very rarely comes in at over $3,000 as it was.
Okay, so this is like an on-call service,
Pretty much.
pretty much on-call. So, and then
They still give us bids for what each.
most of the time it would be
sample
under the
and hourly
30,000
rate.
threshold then.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Fosdak.
I think Mark and Rick and I had talked about this prior to the meeting, and we were discussing not to exceed language. And usually if we have something like this, we'll say not to exceed our fiscal budget amount. They have the fiscal notation as various budgets and lines. If you wanted, I think we could take this to finance with the actual budget line item amount, and it would just be simply, not to exceed the amount that's in the budget for that.
To Mr. Froz's point, I think that's an advisable thing, so we all know as we go into it what we anticipate.
Okay, thank you.
So would you want a motion to amend it to include language not to exceed the fiscal budget amount?
May I have a motion to
I'll
that?
make that motion.
Determine that.
You, and
Let's
just
do it. You don't need a motion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
You don't
happy
need
to
that?
just move it forward.
Okay, we'll move it with that. Okay.
Or addition.
then let's have a vote.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Guys, yes.
Yes.
Motion's approved. The next matter before us is a resolution authorizing the second contract extension available for Kane County Elevator Preventative Maintenance Services.
Gums will move.
Second,
Berman second.
Herman seconds. May I? Mark, would you?
Yes, this
Present.
particular one is just what you just said there. We're rolling over the contract, the previous contract with this resolution at the same rate. Urban has been our go-to now for at least the last couple of years. They've actually rebuilt some elevators and done some very good work for us. Their on-call is amazing. They promise to be on service within the same day, and typically they're in they're within an hour. So we're very pleased with this service and would like to roll this contract over. So.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Yes.
Gums,
Comes yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next resolution is the authorization of emergency purchase affidavit for ancillary janitorial services agreement. May I have a motion, please?
Raz moves.
Berman second.
Raz moves, Berman seconds. May we please have a presentation?
Now, this is for us to make up for.
Can you get closer to the mic?
Sorry.
Thanks.
This is to make up for lack in our contractual custodial services and lack of being able to hire some maintenance, especially for the jail. This does have a not to exceed dollar amount on it. Again, it's basically just to pick up the slack of companies that are not being able to supply us with their janitorial service, contracted janitorial services.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Feinstein?
this is authorizing an emergency purchase affidavit. So this is after the fact. So this is work that my understanding is it's already taken place, and there was an emergency purchase affidavit completed by the county chairman's office. So this would be taken up at the next standing committee, which is this one, and then go through the process for approval. But it's after the work has been done, and that's I think the significance of the emergency purchase affidavit,
Okay.
just to make everyone aware.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Raz, yes.
Gums,
Comes yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Carried.
Thank you. Motion carries. Under information technology, the first four are all rollovers, and I believe we can handle that with one motion at this stage in the process.
Raz moves 6 A, B, C, D.
Correct.
Ford seconds.
Mr. Fries moves, Mr. Ford seconds. May we please have, do we need any further discussion on this? Well, we do need some. Just
Sure.
explain to us what.
So
we're-
the first one is fiber construction. This is a budget that is maintained within the public safety sales tax. We use this money for communications equipment, infrastructure equipment, fiber optics, but this is basically the communications network between our public safety agencies and the county sheriff, KingCom, and our fiber infrastructure. So last year we had projects and services. We had in communications equipment, $354,600 that was not expended, but we do have obligations and invoices that will be coming related to that work that's not completed. We had a lot of things that we were dealing with COVID and other things. So these projects were deferred or delayed. So we're just simply asking that the money in the public safety sales tax capital be moved to the current fiscal year. So this was money left over in 2021 from projects that we didn't get to or didn't finish. And we're simply asking that the capital be moved from fiscal year to 2022.
Thank you.
The second one is similar. It's contractual money. It's $44,900. This is also in public safety sales tax. It is not the general fund. So neither of these are general fund. It is contractual and consulting, and this is money that we use for professional services, engineering, architect design of the communications network. It's $44,900. It would be moved from the 2021 budget to the 2022 budget. The next one is computer capital. This one is the county capital budget, which is part of the general fund. The computers, and Charles could probably speak to this better. We've been trying to order and get supply of computer equipment, and it has been difficult. It's been delayed. The supply chain is very broken, I would say. So we have ordered lots of computer equipment, lots of things for the county, and we are waiting. We just received actually from a 2021 order computers that we ordered, I think it was 6 months ago, maybe more,
That order was put in around March of last year.
almost a
March,
year.
April,
I'm
so,
sorry.
Yeah.
So we're almost a year to get a delivery of equipment. So we have invoices for a lot of this computer equipment that was ordered in 2021 being received in 2022. So financially, we need to move the money for the computer capital from 2021 to 2022. It's $968,500. So it's a good chunk of our capital that we've just been sitting on waiting for the invoices and the actual equipment. The last one is similar. It's software capital. So we have software that we order and we're waiting for delivery, installation, setup. We have $167,600. And this is software capital that's in the general fund. So this was money that's set aside in the general fund for capital software, just like the computer equipment that was not spent in 2021. We want to move it to 2022 to continue those projects and pay invoices for the things that we've already ordered but have not received yet. And I think that's all 4 of them. So these are all basically funds from either public safety sales tax or from the general fund capital that we're asking to roll over from 2021 to 2022.
Not that you have a crystal ball, but do you guys see any change in this?
Not in the immediate
In the-
future.
in
I
the-
think it might get worse. And I would say that some of the things that I know our team has been doing is trying to use the vendors that we have to distribute the orders to get, hey, well, we can find, 100 from a particular vendor, 100. So we have like 3 different suppliers that we work with, 4 maybe at times. And the challenge is that we want to have the equipment be of similar model, of similar make, of similar repair. So our technicians are able to service them easier. It's like having all Chevys, you know what you're dealing with. But at the same time, we have offices that have a lot of demand for their programs to get the computers. And I think that we'll see how this goes. The other agencies, departments, businesses experience the same thing. They're having the same types of problems. And we, in the computer, especially competing with the other lines of business that are looking for chips. And you all know the vehicle shortage and the cars, those are the same types of silicon chip production that go into making some of the computers. And it is a very, very difficult supply market right now.
Well, the next thing that's going to happen is we'll find out that all these things that have been sitting in shipping containers out of
Yeah.
west of California are going to be suffering saltwater damage from the.
There's some hope on the horizon. And I read about this. There's a Intel Corporation is planning to build, I believe it was $100 or $150 billion chip manufacturing facility in Indiana. I wish we could have got that in Illinois, but that'll take 10 to 15 years to have it fully operational. Probably. I know they've said it'd be quicker, but so I don't think we can wait that long. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions of Mr. Feinstock relative to these 4 resolutions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. The next resolution is one authorizing professional services for consulting and project management for Information Technologies Department.
Berman moves.
Fry second.
Ford seconds.
Mr. Berman moves, Mr. Fry seconded.
Okay.
Mr.
So,
Feinstock.
yeah, what you have in front of you is a resolution for consulting project management, which is our professional services. This was discussed at yesterday's county board meeting as well. We did an RFP and contracted with Deafin.net and Infogenie for project management services. In the process of procurement, asking us about renewing the 1 year or it's a 2-year extension. Infogenie was late to reply with some of the paperwork that purchasing needed, so it didn't make it on the same resolution. So we're asking to authorize the second vendor as a 2-year extension for project management services. And this is not a duplication of the money. It's the same money. We're asking for not to exceed $200,000 from contractual consulting. And so the two vendors don't work in a cumulative fashion. They work as kind of a not to exceed the amount. And what we're trying to do is when one of them can't fulfill a need that we have, we go to the other one. And it's a lot about availability. So if they have resource availability, we obviously work between them. We have not used Infogenie to the extent maybe of that we would use Deafin, though. So we're recommending approval. It's a budgeted expense for contractual consulting.
Thank you. Are there questions of Mr. Fonstock? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Raz, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Motion carries.
I'm sorry, Davis, with one quick question related to this. Sorry, I just caught it. In looking at the letter on Infogenie letterhead, I was seeing a reference to 5% holdings in Deafin.net. So are the two linked in some way, or?
I'm looking for that. Where did you see that?
There's a Infogenie letter dated March 2nd. And then there's below is a list of shareholders or owners with at least 5% holdings in Deafin.net Solutions, Inc. I
Wonder if purchasing left the wrong name on the form.
I just caught that. Sorry.
Yeah, it's page 74.
Page 74.
Yeah, yes, right. Sorry, it's page 74.
Yeah, I think that is probably purchasing sent the letter after cutting and pasting. I can talk to purchasing, but I'm going to say that I'm 99.9% sure that let's see, 5% holdings in. I'm not aware of that, so I'd have to check on that. If you want us to, we could try to verify that before finance.
I'm going to assume for the moment that it's the simplest answer, like you just said, that, cut and paste it, but it just caught my eye at the last minute there.
Yeah, because it should read below is a list of shareholders or owners with at least 5% holdings in Infogenie, is what it
Yeah,
should
that's-
read.
That's what you'd
Yes.
expect.
Yeah.
Why would they be declaring the ownership of another company? I don't know. So Mark, that's a great catch. I agree with you. That's not right. Okay. So I guess, we could ask purchasing to get an additional contractor disclosure corrected and signed.
Let's
Be
do that. I
appropriate.
mean, I think
Probably a
that-
good idea.
I think it's a
That's
fair
good idea.
assumption
Yeah,
that
it's a very good idea.
I think it's a fair assumption that it's a Scrivener's error or a.
Yeah. Anybody that says
Yeah,
Mark
I
doesn't
think
read
so.
the documents is wrong.
Yeah, so let's have it.
Okay. Well, we will get that addressed. And if there's anything that is not just a regular error, we would bring it back and full disclosure, need to table that at finance and
Well,
come
and
back.
maybe the easiest from a committee's perspective, if we could just get an email confirmation that that's been done, then we all know it and we don't have to.
Sure.
Yeah,
And-
I'm comfortable with that. That's
Yeah,
okay.
nice call.
Well, we
Mark.
want the corrected form on file too. So, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't see
Mr.
that.
Chairman,
Nice
Ford.
going, Mark.
Mr. Ford,
yes. Would that also be added to the minutes when it comes through?
The minutes.
I I'm not sure I understand. I mean, I think we've made clear our intentions. It will be part of the,
Finance.
of the finance
Okay,
uh,
okay. All right.
committee's agenda, and will be correct on that agenda is my presumption
Okay.
based on today's thoughts.
All right. Okay.
Thank you. Item F, a contract for security cameras and building access control systems.
For that, did we get a vote for the project management?
You know, maybe we didn't.
No,
Okay, well then let's have one.
no, we did. I think we did.
Yeah.
And,
That's right, that's right. Mark asked the
Got it.
question.
Mark
after the
Mark
fact.
asked the question
After-
afterwards, got us confused.
So
Yep,
hardly apropos, we'd already approved it, but,
that's true.
Good catch.
all right. Now we're on item F, authorizing contract for security cameras and building access control systems.
Ford moves.
Ford moves,
5 second.
Fry seconds.
Okay. So what you have is the recommendation for the security camera and building access control systems vendor. This is something that was bid and awarded. And again, we're looking to do an additional 24-month term. And the not to exceed is based on a couple of different things. It's $750,000, and it says it's multiple county departments and funds. The reason for the large dollar amount is related to the video conferencing and video equipment that's being used in the 16th Judicial Circuit courtrooms. So they have 35 courtrooms that we have all the cameras and microphones and sound systems in. And there is a proposal to use various funds, including a consideration, I think that's before ARP committee, to retrofit and redo a lot of the courtrooms with permanent fixtures. A lot of the things that we did during COVID were done makeshift or to get it working. And they're looking at going back and revisiting the courtrooms and doing them with, kind of a completely finished product. One of the proposals that they have is from Convergent Technologies, and Convergent has done, I believe, Will County courts and DuPage County courts. And they happen to be the vendor that we selected in our RFP process to do camera work for the county for IT purposes. And in talking with the courts, we felt that it would be good to, when we renew the contract, to keep in mind that the courts want to do this, that they're looking for funding sources. So we don't have our budget covering $750,000. That would be if the courts are identifying adequate funding to do the camera project. We would want to use one of these vendors to make that happen. I think the problem right now is that whether or not they get ARP funding or other money from automation funds. But what we're looking for is just the authorization to use these two companies and not to exceed $750,000 at this time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Raz, yes.
Gums,
Gums?
Martin.
Yes, I
Martin,
thought I
yes.
hit that button.
Thank you, Gums. Martin, yes.
Yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Motion carries. Next, we have a resolution that we will probably be rolling over again next year because we won't be able to buy the computers that we're authorizing this year.
It's true.
We're authorizing expenditure of funds for computer hardware, software, and services.
Yeah. You get the, okay. I was just talking to Charles. Sorry about that. So this is a resolution authorizing an agreement with Omnia Partners for Insight. And Insight Public Sector is one of the largest resellers of computer equipment in North America. And they are one of the partners that we source equipment from. We are looking at purchasing computer equipment through them. And this is for an additional 2-year agreement that was extended through their joint purchasing agreement. So this is something that Omnia does with joint purchasing powers that they have for joint purchasing contracts between states and municipal government and other governmental organizations. So this again comes out of capital. It's for an amount not to exceed $900,000 in computer equipment. And it's the purchase of computer hardware, software, and services that we use to get those computers deployed. The contract, it terms at a kind of a unique time. It's April 23, 2023. So we're kind of at an offset. If they don't renew it, we'll end up stopping in 2023 before, hopefully we can get all the equipment before that date. I don't know how that works. If the contract expires, we'll have to work with purchasing to figure out, what happens when we buy and then it doesn't get delivered. So that's our only issue right now, but it's budgeted amount in capital. This comes out of capital computer equipment and other various line items from offices and departments.
Thank you. Comments or questions, please? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Franz,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Carries.
Motion carries. Item H, resolution authorizing Yeah.
I thought we did. No,
What?
There was no first.
Oh, there wasn't. Well, then let's start from scratch. I'm
Raz
sorry.
moves.
Raz moves, Berman seconds.
Okay.
Having been moved and seconded, can we call the roll again, please?
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Is this the not to
Same.
exceed
Same
900,000?
one, item G.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Franz,
Raz, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
It still passes.
Motion carries again.
Did I just spend 1.8 million?
That's what
Now, this
I
is
was
the-
saying the
This is
same
the time
thing.
that Davis will ask a question and then we'll have to rediscuss it too. So item H, authorizing contracts for outdoor wireless installation services, microwave network infrastructure.
Berman move.
Davis,
Ford,
second.
second.
Fries, Berman moved, Fries seconded.
Here you go.
Presentation, please.
Sure. So this is the agreement that was the result of bid 29019. We had two vendors that we awarded outdoor wireless installation services and microwave to. It was Scientel Solutions out of Aurora and Orbis Solutions. I can't remember. I think they were Schaumburg, I think. But anyway, the two vendors were awarded and they completed the first contract, and we're looking to renew for an additional 2 years. The amount is $150,000 a year. So this equipment and services is used to create wireless points between large buildings and infrastructure. So an example would be from this campus to the sheriff's radio tower, we have a microwave link or radio link, and it's used for backing up network services in the event that somebody cuts the fiber in the ground and would separate us from the far end of the building. We also have some of these radio links between the Forest Preserve building and the sheriff's jail. And I think there might be some that we've done to the KDOT tower out there. So those are the types of connections that we install, operate, and maintain. And we use Scientel and Orbis for that. It's budgeted under capital and public safety sales tax and services under general fund for us as well. And it's not to exceed $150,000 for both vendors.
Questions of Mr. Feinstock? Hearing none.
All the
Clerk,
more
please.
reason to call Julie.
Oh, we would love that. It happens.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Franz,
Raz, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Dias, yes.
Carries.
Motion carries. The final resolution before us today is one authorizing execution of a master intergovernmental cooperative purchasing agreement and other documents necessary to participate in a purchasing co-op with AT&T and authorizing the purchase of telecommunications services under said agreement by Kane County. May I have a motion, please?
Gums
Ford
moves.
moves. Ford seconds.
Ms. Gums moves, Mr. Ford seconds.
Okay.
Then we
All
have
right. So this is your phone bill. In short, we have an agreement. It's joint purchasing cooperative with the state of Illinois. It's a Illinois contract with AT&T for the lines and services related to telephone. We have a appropriation amount of not to exceed $300,000 for our telephone bill, and this covers all the telephone in the offices for the regular desk phones, but it's also the back end communications lines if we have leases or connections through AT&T. And it's not to exceed $300,000. I would say that we also do chargebacks related to the phones. So there's consideration for special revenue that actually use the phone system, and then they pay the county back, which that money goes into the funds that pay the bill or goes back to the general fund. So we do collect money from the special revenue that use the phone system.
Thank you. Comments or questions? I have a question. I assume that
Sure.
periodically the co-op reviews whether AT&T is the place to be or.
We have looked at different, it's kind of like a energy contracts where they have different suppliers, but they're all ComEd. It's very similar. AT&T has various suppliers, but they're all AT&T circuits at the end,
Okay.
central office.
All right.
A lot of times the challenge is the state contract is with AT&T for various services, and those other competitors are in the market space. So we've had at least one other provider in the history that I've been here, and we ended up going back to AT&T under the state contract, mainly because of the direct line of service with AT&T. They're the provider of the connections and they service them. A lot of the third-party billing services, they don't actually provide the engineering and support services for the circuits. They contact AT&T anyway, so you're 2 or 3 steps removed from the person that would ultimately fix the problem. I think it's helped us with expediting issues that we have, having that contract directly with AT&T.
Okay, good. Good. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Bras,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Pius.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Ms. Mann, do we have a report today from our Public Information Office?
I did provide a report yesterday to the Kane County Board, so I'm going to let that stand for today. But if anybody has any questions or comments that I can answer, listen to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions of Julie?
I would like
Mr.
to say
Feinstein.
something. We did receive a notice from Rick Nagel about his service with the county, and I believe we have a tentative date of May
27th, right?
May 27th. Rick is going to retire and hopefully go on to a happy retirement. And we're going to be working to try and recognize Rick's contributions and what he did. I'm not sure exactly the format of that. We have a little bit of time, but I just wanted to make everyone aware of that piece. And then also I had asked for some feedback from the committee, and I think it kind of self-explanatory now where we're headed with the newsletter and public information. So Rick will be retiring May 27th from his public employment.
And as I mentioned yesterday, when I kind of mentioned that we were in transition, that we are working to figure out what's next for Kane County Connects in the newsletter.
Thank you. Rick had an interesting tenure here with the county. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Mill Creek SSA, do we have a report? Mr. Fraz?
I would just mention that with our administrative assistant, Lily Craig, took 6 months personal leave to take care of her mother. Kind of struggling to get our Mill Creek SSA agenda together, but I'm working with Mr. Meyer on that. And I'll talk to Roger and Mark also to put together agenda for our next meeting. We should be able to take care of that. They're bi-monthly meetings, so.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions? I have a comment, and Drew and I spoke about this yesterday. I know it's the case that the SSA, this SSA passes through all its operating expenses back to the property owners in Mill Creek. I just want to make double certain that that's the case. And the thought that comes to mind is this, is the potential of litigation, and do they buy insurance independent of the county, and what in fact are, what obligations are we assuming on their behalf that may in fact become ours, I guess is what I'm saying. So I just want to make certain that this SSA, like all of them that the few others that we administer, in fact, are complete pass-throughs, and that they have enough financial substance, whether it's through insurance or whatever else, to meet their needs.
Yeah, and Fraz speaking, and as I said, I'll take that on as a project, and you know, our civil division's super busy, but I'd like to get an opinion from them, as well as the SSA has its own attorney that they pay for, and get some feedback. I don't think there's ever been a lawsuit or a settlement until this recent one. So it's never come up and never been discussed. So we'll try and get some answers on that.
That's good.
The
That's good.
SSA may have to buy a policy. So.
Yeah, and the question, who has the insurable interest? So I just want, as a taxpayer who doesn't live in Mill Creek, I just want to make sure that that's the way it's operated. So, Madam Chair.
I have a question for Mr. Frost. The compensation for the representative from King County who works on behalf of Mill Creek, does Mill Creek pay for that salary?
Yeah, we have one full-time employee that's funded by the SSA funds, and then also percentages of the Director of Facilities Management and the executive assistant. Percentages of those are paid for by the SSA.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, this is Alan.
Ms. Allen?
Not on the committee, but I can remember discussions back when Phil Buss and Sam Santel were running our development. And so maybe Mr. Van Kerkhoff would be able to fill in some of this. But my understanding was that the reason the county oversaw Mill Creek was because Mill Creek was the first of its kind, where a whole bunch of the property was in open space that anyone in the county could use, the bike paths, the walking along, all of that beautiful vegetation. Remember, the housing is kind of congealed together so that most of the property is in beautiful open space and water. And then also the sanitation system is oh gosh, Jody Wolnick could certainly fill us in on this, but the idea was that the sanitation system is a process right on as part of Mill Creek. And by the time all of the sewage gets through being filtered, it's an effluent that can then be sprinkled on its own golf course. So a very efficient way of handling a community's making a community self-sustainable. These are just, blurry things I remember from the past. It would be interesting to have some background on why Mill Creek was so different and so important, that the county had this huge responsibility for it, and whether maybe now it's time for Mill Creek to be a regular homeowners association for its individual houses, and a homeowners association for the condos part, and maybe they should be taking care of it themselves. It's philosophical and very rooted to the ground because of our responsibility. I mean, it's always interesting to hear about Mill Creek, and Drew does a fantastic job of being our liaison, but it's an odd arrangement. And it would be interesting to know how we got there. Thanks.
Perhaps Mr. Fries can add that to his report.
Yeah, will do. The short answer is, yeah, it's somewhat unique, but at the time, actually Fox Mill, which is in part of Campton Hills now, was a similar, planned unit development out in the country that the county oversaw. And with that being annexed into the village, Mill Creek is the remaining one. But yeah, the SSA, I guess I would call it the SSA system of governing that area was chosen over a homeowners association. They both have pros and cons, but it's been working, and we're just dealing with some of the infrastructure is 20 years old now or more, and so we're getting a few more calls, but it's working fine. And yeah, there's some unique things like the water treatment system that are pretty cool. But yeah, at this point, it's working fine. We just have some projects to work through, and I would recommend that we leave it alone.
Well, and the other point, or part of that, a continuation of that, is that there are things going on out there, sewage disposal, street maintenance, all kinds of things that have a concern to the county, and the county wanting to make certain that they're properly done. And one of the best ways of doing that is to have a special service area, so that in fact we know as an entity that those issues are being addressed. Homeowners associations are notorious for not dealing with issues and letting them sit and fester. And by establishing the SSA, we are protecting the interests of the county, and frankly, we're probably protecting the interests of those homeowners at least as well as they could do where they'd operate with their own.
I would also just real quickly add some historical background. In the early 90s, if you remember, the 90s were just a high-paced development. This board was dealing with mega developments all over the county, and a lot of them were acre and a quarter well and septic lots. And so the development community and actually our development department said, why don't we talk about some communities where we allow denser development, even though it would have almost 50% open space, denser development and smaller lots on their own utility system, rather than covering the whole county with these large acreage lots. So it has some merit, but the idea was to draw development into these communities like Fox Mill and Mill Creek, and then leave the green space around them. And yeah, I think it's time that we remind everybody on the development committee, especially that we essentially bought open space around these communities by allowing higher density, and that seems to get forgotten over time. So the idea is that these developed communities like Mill Creek don't keep expanding, and so we've tried to avoid that. But so yeah, everything's working fine out there, but we got a few projects going on.
That's great background, Drew. Thank you.
No problem.
Anything else? Hearing
Yeah,
none.
it seems that SSA, I think, is the appropriate vehicle. It's just this many years into it, we've found that there's a little fine tuning that needs to happen, and with responsibilities. And I think we're in the right place, though. That was it.
One of the big projects we're working on is, again, as the development ages out and gets built out, there's several parcels scattered throughout the development that have to be allotted to certain agencies, whether it's the Water Rec District, the Forest Preserve, the SSA. So that was one of the things we were kind of in the middle of. So with Lily off, it's going to be a little bit slower process, but we'll work through that.
Well, and at least to me, this whole excuse me, at least to me, the whole conversation that we're having today supports the fact that the SSA was an appropriate way of dealing with the development of this size. And now that it is aging and there are things that need to be done, it's, in my opinion, it's far more likely that it's going to get done under the umbrella of the SSA then were we to leave the owners association to its own resources to move ahead and make these decisions. So I remain comfortable with it.
Yeah.
My only point was, I
It's
just want to make, every once in a while, I've got to read the document, and all I want to do is just make sure that it's current. But it's been operating for a long time, and it's been successful. It just needs to be maintained.
And just one last note is that the official name is the Mill Creek SSA Advisory Board, the group of citizens we have out there. So like the zoning board of appeals, they're advisory only. The county board actually has the final vote. But it was felt that a board, an advisory board of local citizens that are the actual taxpayers to the SSA would be a better representation than, 24 board members that, are from everywhere from Montgomery to Algonquin and may not have even been to Mill Creek. So that was one of the other reasons for the board and why it's an advisory board.
Well, and as it's developed, I think both Batavia and Geneva have adopted a philosophy of going no further west. So this subdivision is never going to be absorbed into either
Right.
Batavia or Geneva, to my knowledge. Is that correct, Dave?
I would agree.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, the odds of Mill Creek becoming a municipality on its own are almost nil. Campton did it, but it was really hard in a much different situation.
okay. Do we have any vehicles we need to discuss today? There being none. Any new business to be brought before us? Hearing none, we've already discussed the old business. May I have a motion, please, to place our reports on file?
Frasmo?
Gums moves. Gums will second.
Gums seconds, Fraz moves. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Yeah, it was just,
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Fraz,
Fraz, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Caius.
Motion
Caius,
carries.
yes.
The reports are on file. Thank you, Mr. Caius. We have no need of an executive session. May I have a motion, please, to adjourn?
Don't move.
Mr. Berman
will second.
moves. Mr. Fry seconds. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion
Thank you, Mr.
carries. The
Martin.
meeting is adjourned at 11:15